In the last video, I gave you guys a classic hard rock and heavy metal riff to learn. Actually, there's a few different riffs, and I promised you I'd come back with a lead guitar lesson to match it. So that's what we're about to do right now. Alright, so the licks you just heard, that's what you're about to learn. We're going to go over them in detail. So I'm going to break this down into 4 different sections because you've got 4 little patterns of licks there. I'm going to show you each pattern, and I'm also going to give you a backing track, so hang around till the end of the video. I'm going to have the rhythm track playing a few times so that you can practice these lead licks that we're about to learn. So let's dig right in to learn some classic hard rock and heavy metal licks. Right away, we're starting out with this really cool melodic pattern, and you can hear this, you can just feel this vibe as you're listening to it. And if you're already playing this little lick here, you can feel that just deeply rooted classic hard rock heavy metal vibe to it. It's just got it, especially that first part, that little melody there that we're playing. And you can probably think of many songs that has something very similar to that, going back, you know, to different types of classic hard rock and heavy metal songs. So I am going to play it again with a tablature for you. Okay, I'll throw that up, but let me just kind of break down this pattern real quick before we start that. So first we start out with a slide. Now, don't ask me where I'm starting from with the slide, because this is kind of where one of my, I don't want to say it's a folly, but I kind of wing it when it comes to this kind of stuff. I really do. I just wing it. Man, wings sound good right now too. But anyway, I just kind of start from wherever. So I really don't want you to get too caught up on that. It's like, oh my God, where do I start? Where do I place my finger before I slide? Just, you know, just wing it for this part, because sometimes I'll start up here. Sometimes I might. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you want to play it safe, I would recommend starting on a note that's at least in the progression, that's going to fit that progression. So we're here. So the first time around I started at the 5th fret, the second time I started at the 2nd. You might not want to start at like a note that doesn't fit. Like that note didn't fit, so don't start there. But really though, guys, I kind of wing that part. That's just how I do it. All right, so anyway, we're sliding up, and there's a little technique. What's cool about this is we're doing kind of like a finger roll here, because the 2 notes that we're going to hit right after that are on the same fret. And then we roll. So you're kind of like rolling your finger. I know some of you know what I'm talking about, but I kind of want to get close up here. So you're picking that note right there, but you're going to pick the next string over after that. So you don't want them to be played at the same time. So for that, you'll have it here, then you'll kind of roll it to where it's there. Because you don't, for this lick, we're not trying to do this. Don't want to do that. We want this instead. So I just wanted to kind of break that first little section down here. Now, we go through the rest here. We've got this really cool bend that we do on the 11th fret there. And I bent just a little too far. I mean, you're technically bending a whole step, but that next note just happens to be 1 fret. So you don't want to bend too much. Now, after that, we've got another really cool, like, slight little bend that we just barely sneak in there. But this is one of those things that can really help your solos, just give them more life, okay? So listen to this last piece again. I'm going to play it through. Listen to that very last bend I do. So you see, I don't really bend it that much. just a little. It almost gives it like this little southern twist to it. Kind of reminds me of some of the stuff that Zakk Wylde did on Ozzy's No More Tears album. He kind of gave it that southern twist. All right, so let's play through this one more time while I throw up the tabs. Alright, so this is one of those really simple little licks, and it just sounds cool because even though it's simple, there's a lot of substance to this. And I think one of the reasons is we're playing some lower notes, almost like playing like a rhythm part, like a riff, right? But it's part of the solo here, and this is what makes it so like dynamic, because a lot of solos are played in this upper region here, and sometimes I'm guilty of this too, is just kind of hanging in the same area, and I try to break myself of that. So this little lick here is a good way to not be so hung up in the high notes down here, right? It's a good opportunity to kind of break away from that and just go somewhere else on the fretboard and give the solo a different dynamic. And dynamics, that's what it's all about. That's what's going to speak to the person listening to your guitar playing. If you're always in the same section, they're like, okay, well, that's great, you're fast, or you're this or that. But when you start venturing out and just going to some different places, and we're going to bounce around quite a bit here in this next one, but I want to just break this down real quick. When you start venturing out into different places, it gives your solo more dynamics, and it just brings more life out. So again, this is a very simple, it's nothing really to break down here per se, because it's just a few notes. I do utilize a whammy bar. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. If you don't have a whammy, that's okay. Just kind of hold that note out. That's fine. And actually just do this if you don't have the whammy, okay? Just give it a little vibrato there. All right, so let me throw the tabs up here, and let's go through this one time, okay? Or, well, two times technically, because I'm going to play it twice for you. Now, this third part here sounds very familiar to what we played earlier the first time around, what we started out with, and that is actually by design. So if you notice here, the rhythm section for the first part and the third part are the same, and of course you probably remember this from the rhythm video that we did on this exact song here, right? We talked about that. Since those are the same, I kind of want to follow the same type of lead pattern. However, we're just playing it an octave higher. So even though it's the same or similar at least, we're doing something a little different here. And this is another good way to spice up the solo, but at the same time, bring some familiarity to the solo for the listener, okay? They've heard the first lick. They thought it was cool. Then you went to something else. Now you're going back to a similar pattern, okay? So they're like, oh, I remember that. And that piece there becomes kind of the culprit of the solo. My elbow almost slipped off. I should cut that part out, but no, let's keep it in. This thing's slippery sometimes. Anyway, let's try this again. What I was saying is 1 and 3 are very similar. And that kind of produces like that signature sound to your guitar solo. This is powerful, and this is why I'm kind of spending a little bit of time on this part. You've got guitar solos that are fast and great and all that stuff. Then you've got guitar solos that have these very specific melody lines that are just known by everyone. And sometimes, well, most of the times, those aren't the complicated solos. Those are the solos that, like what we just played here, they remember. People remember. Your listeners, they remember that melody line, and they can almost hum it. And man, I mean, that's what you want. That's what you want in your music. I'm not saying everything has to be melodic. I'm not saying you should never shred. I shred all the time. You guys know that. But when you throw stuff like this into your solo playing, and especially if you're just starting out, I encourage you to come up with more melodies and play more melodies, because that is what captivates people. So I just wanted to bring that up. All right, let's go through this again 2 times, and I'll throw up the tabs, and then we'll move on to the last piece, which gets a little bit more complex. All right, so here's where I don't want to say we get super complicated, but we're just bringing in some alternate picking, some faster alternate picking, almost speed picking techniques into this little riff here. And another thing that's really cool that we're utilizing is that open string. And when you heard that, you're probably immediately reminded of Wasted Years, which is probably my favorite Maiden song. I love that tune. I actually do an acoustic version of that when I play my live acoustic gigs, and I play it on the B string because, you know, I'm in a different key. I can't sing as high as that dude. But anyway, back to this. So that's kind of the techniques that we're using there. We're alternate picking, right, for our solo there, faster alternate picking, and we're utilizing that open string, which is the open B string. Now the beauty of this, like that Iron Maiden song, we're staying on the same string the whole way through, and this is like the finale of this little solo here. So the one pointer I can give on this thing is just to kind of practice it over and over and over, okay? Practice it with like a metronome. I encourage you to do that. Or if you just want to like open up something like Easy Drummer and just have some kind of drum beat going along with whatever BPM. I would start at a faster BPM because this is harder to play slower, you know, believe it or not. I was trying to slow it down, and I kept screwing up, so I had to do this video a couple times. You know, it's kind of meant for you to have that faster rhythmic, you know, pattern there. So just keep going over. You'll have the tabs up here as well. So I'm gonna play this through. I'm not gonna slow it down too much because I can't. It's hard to play this slow. Let's go through this one more time. I'll throw up the tabs. Alright guys, now it's time to take those licks that you just learned and play along with a backing track. So I'm going to let this rhythm section run for about a minute or so here, just so you can jam to it, and I will have the tabs for the appropriate parts, okay? I'll have those lead tabs up there so you can follow along with that. Real quick before I play that track for you, if you don't have my free practice guide, 10 Metal Riffs and Licks, make sure you grab a copy of that. There's a link in the description of this video. It's completely free. Also, there's a link below that for my metal rhythm guitar course called Metal Riff Master. I know a lot of you are in that course already and having an awesome time, so check that out if you haven't yet. Now, let's play your backing track. Alright guys, so I really hope you enjoyed that little backing track there and had a fun time jamming along with that. These licks they're a lot of fun to play, and it's kind of cool because you can play them as kind of like a beginner, lower intermediate, or even if you're an advanced guitar player, you know, these licks are still fun to play and you can just add some more stuff to them, add some more notes if you want to, and just do some different things with them. In fact, I encourage you guys, every time I put out a lesson like this, I encourage you guys to, yeah, learn it, but then make it your own after that. Add some notes, take away some notes, play it in different places, just, you know, add your own flavor to it, and that's really how you get better at guitar. That's how you become a better musician in general. Just taking something and then adding to it and just making it your own. So I encourage you guys to do that. Also guys, don't forget the links I mentioned earlier in the description of this video, my free practice guide and my metal rhythm guitar course. Those are in the description. Guys, thank you so much for watching my videos. I really appreciate you all. Please give this a thumbs up. I'll see you on the next video. Until then, keep it metal.